各位朋友，大家好。
Good afternoon. Welcome to the 2022 Constitution Day seminar, co-organized by the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region Government and the Liaison Office of the Central People's Government with the Endeavour Education Centre as the supporting organization. I am Heidi Chen, the IC today. Good afternoon. To heighten public awareness of the Constitution, promote the spirit of the Constitution, and advance the overall law-based governance of the country, the Standing Committee of the 12th National People's Congress decided in November 2014 to designate the 4th of December each year as Constitution Day and conduct promotional and educational activities on the Constitution through multiple channels. The Hong Kong SAR started organizing the Constitution Day seminar since 2017. This is the 6th year. I'm glad to see you all here face-to-face this year. And let me welcome to the audience watching on TV or online. I'm glad that we're all able to learn about the Constitution together, so we will have a deeper understanding of the constitutional basis of the country and Hong Kong. The 2022 Constitution Day seminar starts now. The theme of the seminar today is Constitution and New Journey of the New Era. This year marks the 40th anniversary of the promulgation and implementation of the current Constitution. As stated in the report to the 20th National Congress of the Communist Party of China, which was just convened, it is imperative to fully, faithfully and resolutely implement the policy of one country, two systems, under which the people of Hong Kong administer Hong Kong with a high degree of autonomy to remain committed to law-based governance in Hong Kong and to maintain constitutional order in the SAR as stipulated in the Constitution and the Basic Law. This is also the year that marks the 25th anniversary of Hong Kong's return to the motherland, which represents a significant milestone in the implementation of one country, two systems. As Hong Kong embarks on the new stage from advancing from stability to prosperity, the seminar adopts the theme of Constitution and New Journey of the New Era to explore how the Constitution plays a more vital role in the development of one country, two systems at this critical juncture. We are happy to have President of the Chinese Association of Hong Kong and Macau Studies and the former Deputy Director of the Liaison Office, Mr. Deng Zhonghua, to deliver a keynote speech. We are also happy to have Ms. Rita Fan, Chairman of the Management Committee of the Endeavour Education Centre, to moderate a panel discussion. And then Ms. Maria Tam, Deputy Director of the Hong Kong Basic Law Committee of the Standing Committee of the MPC, and the Honourable Simon Lee, Member of the Legislative Council and Chairperson of the Basic Law Foundation, will have a panel discussion. First, I would like to invite Mr. John Lee, the Chief Executive, to come on stage to deliver the opening address. Mr. John Lee, please.
The Honourable Mr. Lo Wai-ning, Mr. Zheng Xianyi, Zheng Yanxiao, Mr. Zhang Dong, Mr. Deng Zhonghua, Mr. Fang Jiangming, Deputy Commissioner, Mr. Justice Andrew Zheng, Mrs. Rita Fan, and Ms. Maria Tam, as well as distinguished guests and fellow citizens. Good afternoon. Welcome to the 2022 Constitution Day seminar, organized by the Hong Kong SAR government and the Liaison Office of the Central People's Government in the Hong Kong SAR, and supported by the Endeavour Education Centre. Today's seminar is attended by 600 guests in person. The seminar will also be televised and broadcast online so that fellow citizens can deepen their knowledge of the Constitution through the seminar. In November 2014, the 12th National People's Congress Standing Committee adopted the decision on designation of the Constitution Day, which designated the 4th of December each year as the Constitution Day. On this day, the nation would take forward various forms of publicity and education activities with a view to strengthening the public's constitutional awareness, promoting the spirits of the Constitution, enhancing its implementation, and advancing law-based governance. This year marks the 40th anniversary of the Constitution's promulgation, which gives special significance to today's Constitution Day seminar. Besides this seminar, the Security Bureau of the Hong Kong SAR government has held the flag-raising ceremony to commemorate the 40th anniversary of the Constitution, together with our disciplinary services and youth groups. The RTHK and the Constitutional and Mainland Affairs Bureau has also co-produced a new series of the TV program, Roots and Origin, the Constitution, to enhance the public's knowledge of the Constitution. October saw the triumphant conclusion of the 20th National Congress of the Communist Party of China. The theme of this year's Constitution Day seminar is Constitution and New Journey of the New Era. It is a timely theme which echoes the spirit of the 20th National Congress and allows us to appreciate the paramount importance of the Constitution to the country's governance and the implementation of one country, two systems. The report of the 20th National Congress sets out that in the new journey of the new era, the mission of the Communist Party of China will be to lead the Chinese people of all ethnic groups in a concerted effort to realize the second centenary goal of building China into a great modern socialist country in all respects, and to advance the rejuvenation of the Chinese nation on all fronts through a Chinese path to modernization. The report attached great importance to the Constitution and set specific tasks to uphold the Constitution and give full play to its role in the country's governance. The Constitution is the bedrock of the country, the fundamental law, the rulebook for the country's stability, and the mandate of comprehensive law-based governance. The report of the 20th National Congress clearly pointed out that law-based governance and law-based exercise of state power begin with compliance with the Constitution. We must remain firmly committed to leadership of the party, to the state system of People's Democratic Dictatorship, and to the political system of People's Congress, all of which are mandated by the Constitution. This year is the 25th anniversary of Hong Kong's reunification with the motherland. Tracing our roots, the Hong Kong SAR and the Basic Law under which one country, two systems is implemented are both established upon the foundation of the Constitution. The establishment of the Hong Kong SAR stemmed from Article 31 of the Constitution. That is, the state may establish special administrative regions when necessary. The Basic Law also stemmed from the same article. That is, the systems to be instituted in special administrative regions shall be prescribed by law, enacted by the National People's Congress in the light of specific conditions. Together, the Constitution and the Basic Law form the constitutional foundation of the Hong Kong SAR. According to the report of the 20th National Congress, we must uphold the constitutional order enshrined in the Constitution and the Basic Law, stay true to the letter and spirit of the principle of one country, two systems, under which the people of Hong Kong administer Hong Kong with a high degree of autonomy, and adhere to law-based governance. This will ensure a robust foundation for Hong Kong's long-term stability and prosperity, maintain our unique status and advantages, and allow us to complement the mainland's strengths by becoming an important bridge between the country and the world. I have announced in my policy address that the government will further strengthen publicity and education on the Constitution, the Basic Law, and the Hong Kong National Security Law. The Basic Law Promotion Steering Committee, led by the Chief Secretary for Administration, has been renamed the Constitution and the Basic Law Promotion Steering Committee to underline the importance the government attaches to the promotion of the Constitution, as well as our determination to take forward relevant work. As the roots and origin, the Constitution is instrumental in safeguarding the full implementation of one country, two systems. When Hong Kong was facing unprecedented crisis, the National People's Congress took action in accordance with the Constitution to resolve Hong Kong's problems on a national and constitutional level, while enhancing the development of one country, two systems. In year 2020, the National People's Congress adopted the decision on establishing and improving legal system and enforcement mechanisms for the Hong Kong SAR to safeguard national security, which authorized the NPC, the National People's Congress Standing Committee, or the NPCSC, to amend Annexes 1 and 2 of the Basic Law and improve our electoral system, and implementing the principle of patriots administering Hong Kong. It shows that the country has always given Hong Kong its staunch support. Having returned to the right track and restored governance, it is now a critical time for Hong Kong to embark on a new journey towards prosperity. Safeguarding national sovereignty, security, and development interests is the paramount principle of one country, two systems. National security risks are complex and vary frequently. Prevention of acts and activities endangering national security is no easy task, and everyone should stay vigilant to them. Last Monday, in accordance with the Central People's Government's request, I submitted a report concerning the implementation of Hong Kong national security law. In the report, I recommended that a request be made to the NPCSC to issue an interpretation in accordance with Article 65 of the National Security Law, in order to clarify the legislative intent and objectives of the National Security Law on whether an overseas solicitor or barrister who is not qualified to practice generally in Hong Kong participates by any means in the handling of work in cases concerning offence endangering national security. As the Chief Executive of the Hong Kong SAR and the Chairperson of the Committee for Safeguarding National Security of the Hong Kong SAR, I have the duty to make prudent judgments and recommend to the Central People's Government that an interpretation be issued. Since the matter in question has a significant bearing on national security and will have a far-reaching impact, there is sound legal basis to request an interpretation from the NPCSC on the above matter. According to Article 3 of the National Security Law, it is the duty of the Hong Kong SAR under the Constitution to safeguard national security. According to Article 65 of the Hong Kong National Security Law, power of interpretation of the law shall be vested in the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress. In fact, according to Article 57 of the Constitution, the NPCSC is the NPC is the highest organ of state power. Its permanent body is the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress. The power of interpretation of the Constitution, the Basic Law, and the Hong Kong National Security Law is vested in the NPCSC. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow citizens, President Xi has made the profound observation that the country's constitution is superior in that it fits the nation's context and is pragmatic in meeting the development needs of our time. It is the ultimate guarantee that whatever difficulties and challenges lie ahead, the nation and its people will always remain on the path of socialism with Chinese characteristics. In the new era, governance of the country in accordance with the Constitution has brought fruitful results. They are a testament to the Constitution's robust foundation and superiority. The Constitution carries the country's major achievements, historical experience, and the dream of great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. At this critical time, as the nation embarks on a new journey to become a great modern socialist country in all respects, we must steadfastly uphold the Constitution, fully and accurately implement one country, two systems as enshrined by the Constitution and the Basic Law, and adhere to this good system, which will ensure Hong Kong's long-term prosperity and stability. I and my team look forward to working hand in hand with members of the public to make Hong Kong, the home to us all, a place filled with hope and happiness, where everyone can thrive and live in harmony. Let's contribute towards the realization of the second centenary goal and the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation on a scale never seen before. Finally, I am grateful to the Liaison Office for co-organizing today's seminar with the Hong Kong SAR government. I thank Mr. Deng Zhonghua, President of the Chinese Association of Hong Kong and Macau Studies, for giving the keynote speech. Mr. Deng was the former Deputy Director of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office of the State Council. He has participated in Hong Kong and Macau's affairs for a long time and is very familiar with the Constitution, the Basic Law, and the implementation of one country, two systems. I also thank the Endeavour Education Center and Mrs. Rita Fan, who has been supporting the Constitution Day seminar throughout the years. I wish everyone a fruitful Constitution Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Executive. Please take your seat. Now, I would like to invite the Director of the Liaison Office of the Central People's Government in the Hong Kong SAR, Mr. Luo Guiling, to speak. Distinguished guests, dear friends, good afternoon. This year marks the 40th anniversary of the promulgation of the current constitution of our country, as well as the 25th anniversary of Hong Kong's reunification. Not long ago, the 20th National Congress of the Communist Party of China, CPC, was convened. It set the direction for the development of the party and the country in the new journey of the new era. In the important speech delivered by the President Xi Jinping on the 1st of July in Hong Kong, he also set the direction of the implementation of one country, two systems in the new stage. Today's seminar has the theme of Constitution and New Journey of the New Era. For the Constitution to play its role of leading and safeguarding the implementation of one country, two systems in the new journey of new era, and to help Hong Kong advance from stability to prosperity, this seminar carries great significance. Here I would like to share 3 points with you. First of all, if we want the Constitution to play its role in leading and protecting the implementation of one country, two systems, then we must respect and uphold the fundamental system of the country. The Constitution is the root and origin of the country's laws. Article 1 of the Constitution states that the socialist system is the fundamental system of the People's Republic of China. Leadership by the Communist Party of China is the defining feature of socialism with Chinese characteristics. It is prohibited for any organization or individual to damage a socialist system. The current Constitution was promulgated 40 years ago. Since then, the country has achieved great success in its opening up and reform and the modernization of socialism. In the past 10 years in the new era, the party and the country have seen great transformation. Hong Kong has been through various challenges and difficulties, and then now it's a restored order from chaos. It's also moving from stability to prosperity. It is starting a new phase. So it is because of the unwavering leadership of the CPC. That's why this is possible. And also it shows that the importance of the constitutional system based in the country. The Constitution has also affirmed the foundation of one country, two systems. Since the reunification 25 years ago, the constitutional order in Hong Kong has been practiced steadily, and one country, two systems have been implemented successfully without recognition. This is because of the protection given by the Constitution. In the new journey, all sectors in Hong Kong should uphold the authority of the Constitution. They must respect and uphold the country as socialist system in accordance with the Constitution. They must also respect and uphold the leadership of the CPC in accordance with the Constitution. This is to make sure that the implementation of one country systems will stay on the right track without deviation. Secondly, if we want the Constitution to play the role of leading and safeguarding the implementation of one country, two systems, we must make sure that we will safeguard national sovereignty, security, and development interests. This should be the most important principle. In the July 1st speech, President Xi states that the underlying goal of the policy of one country, two systems is to uphold China's sovereignty, security, and development interests. Safeguarding national security is the fundamental interest of the Chinese people of all ethnic groups. And under the Constitution, it is also the common obligation of all Chinese nationals. The Hong Kong security law is rooted in the Constitution. It has regard to the actual needs to safeguard national security in Hong Kong and the actual circumstances in the SAR. It is a national law. All organizations and individuals in Hong Kong must abide by the Hong Kong national law and also abide by any other laws in Hong Kong that safeguard national safety. Experience shows that we need to safeguard national security. It is the constitutional duty of the rule of law in Hong Kong. It is also a bottom line that must not be crossed. In the new journey, we must implement one country, two systems. This is the most important principle, and we need to further implement the very relevant legal systems and enforcement mechanisms in safeguarding national security in the Hong Kong SAR. We must be fully and faithfully implement the Hong Kong national security law and also punish all criminal activities that endanger national security in accordance with the law. We must all fully realize the importance of safeguarding national security, sovereignty, and development interests. Only then could Hong Kong develop in a prosperous and steady manner. Thirdly, we want to the Constitution to play the role of leading and safeguarding the implementation of one country, two systems. We must have those who love Hong Kong and the country as the core of the leadership. We must also carry on the mainstream values characterized by the love of both the mainland and Hong Kong at the core and in conformity with the principle of one country, two systems. We have to uphold and believe in the Constitution. To do that, to that end, we need to identify with the nation. And the 20th Party Progress Report states that we must inspire more people in Hong Kong to love both the country and Hong Kong and be more patriotic. And so that means we have to promote patriotism, and only then can we break away from the influence of the colonial rule. I noticed that for the new term of the government, they have renamed the Basic Law Promotion Steering Committee to become the Constitution Basic Law Promotion Steering Committee. That shows the commitment of the new term of the government. In a new journey, we must keep strengthening our understanding of the Constitution Basic Law and the Hong Kong National Security Law. We have to learn more about the national we must promote national education and history, education of our history. And so together we will uphold the mainstream values under one country, two systems, and then together, and then we will stay united as we further implement one country, two systems. Dear friends, the country is actively taking forward the modernization of socialism, and we are also starting the new journey of the rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. So this is a historic juncture for Hong Kong where there are plenty of opportunities. I believe that with the Constitution, the Basic Law, and the Hong Kong National Security Law, there is enough protection for Hong Kong to stay true to the foundation of one country and leverage on the advantages of two systems, and then we could better integrate into the development of the country, and we could start a new chapter moving from stability to prosperity and also contribute more to the country's rejuvenation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Luo Huining. Now we are going to have a photo call. I will invite the guests to come on stage for a photo session. Let's invite Mr. John Lee, Chief Executive of the Hong Kong SAR, to come on stage. And also, Mr. Chen Dong, Deputy Commissioner of the Office of the Commissioner of the Liaison Office, Mrs. Rita Fan, Chairman of the Management Committee of the Endeavour Education Center, Mr. Justice Andrew Zhang, Chief Justice of the Court of Final Appeal, Mr. Zhang Yanxiong and Mr. Li Guangzhou, Deputy Director of the Office for Safeguarding National Security of the Central People's Government in Hong Kong SAR. Mr. Fang Jianming, Deputy Commissioner of the Office of the Commissioner of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the PRC in the Hong Kong SAR. Mr. Eric Chan, Chief Secretary for Administration. Financial Secretary, Mr. Paul Chan. Secretary for Justice, Mr. Paul Lam, SC. Secretary for Constitutional and Mainland Affairs, Mr. Eric Zhang. And also, our guest for the panel discussion session, Ms. Maria Tam. And Dr. Simon Hui Lee. Welcome. Now you may take off the mask for a group photo. Please look at the cameras in the front. Thank you very much. You may now put your mask on. Please be seated. Thank you very much.
Now we have great honor to have with us Mr. Deng Zhonghua, President of the Chinese Association of Hong Kong and Macau Studies and former Deputy Director of the Hong Kong Macau and Affairs Office, State Council, for delivering her keynote speech. The Honourable John Lee, Chief Executive, Mr. Lord Huining, Director, Chairman Rita Fan, Deputy Director Maria Lam, Dr. the Honourable Simon Lee, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm glad to be invited to deliver a keynote speech at the 2022 Constitution Day seminar in the Hong Kong SAR. First of all, please allow me to convey the warm congratulations of Mr. Xia Baolong, Vice Chairman of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference and Director of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office of the State Council, on the successful organization of the seminar today. On the 1st of July, President Xi Jinping came to Hong Kong to attend the meeting celebrating the 25th anniversary of Hong Kong's return to the motherland and the inaugural ceremony of the sixth term government of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. President Xi delivered an important speech and pointed clearly to the direction for the steadfast and successful implementation of one country, two systems. Not long ago, the 20th National Congress of the Communist Party was concluded successfully. The Congress held high the great banner and strived in unity to build the country. The election of the first plenum of the 20th CPC Central Committee heralded in the new term of the Central leadership. Comrade Xi Jinping stays on as the General Secretary of the CPC Central Committee. This is excellent news for the party and the country. Recently, all Chinese compatriots, including those in Hong Kong and Macau, are fervently studying the spirit of the 20th National Congress. Mr. John Lee, Chief Executive, conducted the sharing session on the spirit of the 20th National Congress. Director Luo Huining delivered an important speech at the sharing session on the spirit of the 20th National Congress for the Hong Kong community. This year is the 40th anniversary of the promulgation and implementation of our country's constitution. The Hong Kong SAR is organizing the Constitution Day event for the 6th year in a row as it keeps up its effort to promote and to organize promotional and education activities on the Constitution, as well as guide the public to learn about the Constitution and safeguard its authority. This event carries great significance. The report of the 20th National Congress stresses once again the commitment to law-based governance in Hong Kong and Macau and maintain constitutional order in the special administrative regions, SARs, as stipulated in the country's constitution and the region's basic laws. Taking this opportunity, I would like to share some of my views and experience on this important point. 1. To commit to law-based governance in Hong Kong and Macau and maintain constitutional order in the SARs as stipulated in the country's constitution and the region's basic laws. We must first have a correct understanding of and handle properly the relationship between the constitution and the basic law. The first point, the Communist Party of China, CPC, led the people of China in formulating the country's constitution. It is a manifestation of the collective will of the party and the people. President Xi pointed out that under the leadership of the party, our constitution draws from the successful experience of the socialist revolution, building and reform of our country, and strives for continuous improvement. It realizes both the party's proposition and the people's will. It is a natural outcome arising from the history, theory, and practice in the long struggles of the people under the leadership of the party. The current constitution was promulgated in 1982 and is the most comprehensive constitution of the country since its founding. This constitution is the collective work of all people of the country. During the drafting of the 1982 constitution, the principle of democratic centralism was fully adhered to. On both two occasions, there was nationwide discussion between in 1982, between May and August. Subsequently, Comrade Peng Zheng, Vice Chairman of the Constitution Amendment Committee, personally led the task of repeated study and amendments to the Constitution on the basis of the discussions. The exercise leveraged fully on the wisdom of the people. This constitution gives full play to both theory and practice. The exercise involved not just legal practitioners, but also historians and theory researchers. A number of seminars were held for experts on theories, law, political science, political economics, philosophy, and so on. Much effort was made to ensure that the basic theory of the Constitution is in line with the actual situation of our country in the practice of Marxism. This is to ensure that the Constitution is in keeping with the situation of our country. This Constitution is a work that combines both the experience of our country and foreign countries. Many of the important institutions, principles, and rules enshrined in the 1982 Constitution originated from the 1954 Constitution and the 1949 Common Program of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference. Apart from taking stock of the experience relating to China's constitution, reference was also made to the experience relating to the constitution of other countries, big and small, capitalist and socialist. As long as there was useful experience worth learning, a reference was made to such experience. This constitution is a work that combines principles and flexibility. The 1982 Constitution stipulates the basic principles of the country's institution and social institution. It also stipulates important principles and policies on various fronts. Many of the provisions carry the special feature of combining both principles and flexibility. The Constitution stipulates that the socialist system is the fundamental system of our country. On that basis, the Constitution also stipulates that SARs may be established when necessary. This is a demonstration of the high degree of flexibility in the Constitution. The establishment of the Hong Kong and Macau special administrative regions is testimony that the Constitution adheres to principles while being flexible. For this reason, the Constitution has been implemented steadily and consistently since 1982. At the same time, the Constitution is amended and enhanced from time to time to move in tandem with the deepening reform and opening up, as well as the modernization of the socialist system. The Constitution is kept up as a living document for it to play an even bigger role in the journey of the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. 2. The Constitution is the fundamental law of the country. It is the general statute for governing the country. It has supreme legal status and force. President Xi Jinping stressed that the Constitution was the fundamental law of the country. It is the general statute for governing the country. It is the most supreme manifestation of the will of the state. It has supreme legal status, authority, and force. The history and culture of every country are different. Their values are different. Their constitutions each have their own unique features. For our country, the Constitution is the fundamental law of the state. There is underlying significance in 3 aspects. First, in content. The Constitution stipulates the most basic and important systems of the country. For example, the nature, political and organizational structure and guiding policies of the country, the basic rights and obligations of nationals, the organization, functions and powers of state organs, and so on. These systems regulate state activities, and that is why the Constitution is the general statute of the country. Second is in legal force. The Constitution has supreme legal force. In countries with written constitution, the Constitution has legal force above that of general laws. The Constitution enjoys the highest legal status in the body of laws in these countries. It means that all laws, administrative rules, and local rules must not be in breach of the principle and spirit of the Constitution. Third is in the formulation and amendment process, which is more stringent for the Constitution than for other laws. This is an important element in safeguarding the authority and dignity of the Constitution. As far as the SARs are concerned, the Constitution is the fundamental manifestation of one country. The Constitution has supreme legal status and force across the territory of the country, including the special administrative regions. The Constitution applies to the SARs as a whole, and its force cannot be split up to cover, say, only some provisions, but not others. It means, therefore, the laws of the SARs, including the basic laws, must not be in breach of the principles and the spirit of the Constitution. 3. The Constitution is the source of powers for basic laws to provide the basis for making laws. The Constitution and the basic laws together form the constitutional basis of SARs. President Xi Jinping pointed out that the return to the motherland completed the major transformation of the constitutional order in Hong Kong. As a SAR directly under the Central People's Government, since the day of return, Hong Kong is once again incorporated into the governance system of China. The Constitution and the Basic Law together form the constitutional basis of the SAR. On the one hand, the Constitution stipulates the SAR system. To uphold national unity and territorial integrity, the Constitution stipulates that China is a socialist state governed by a people's democratic dictatorship. The socialist system is a fundamental system of the country. It is prohibited for any organization or individual to damage the socialist system. At the same time, bearing in mind the actual special situation and the history of Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Macau. Article 31 of the Constitution stipulates that special administrative regions may be established when necessary. The systems instituted in SARs shall, in light of special circumstances, be prescribed by laws enacted by the National People's Congress. 2 years after the passage of the Constitution, our government signed the joint declaration on the question of Hong Kong with the British government to establish the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. We will resume sovereignty over Hong Kong on the 1st of July 1997. On the other hand, the Basic Law is a fundamental law drawn up under the Constitution. The preamble of the Basic Law states expressly that, in accordance with the Constitution of the People's Republic of China, the National People's Congress hereby enacts the Basic Law of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region of the People's Republic of China. On the 4th of April 1990, at the third session of the 7th National People's Congress, as the Basic Law of the Hong Kong SAR was considered and adopted, a decision was made specifically on the Basic Law of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region of the People's Republic of China to state expressly that the Basic Law of the Hong Kong SAR is enacted in accordance with the Constitution and in light of the specific conditions of Hong Kong. It is in compliance with the Constitution. Therefore, the system of one country, two systems is based on and derived from the Constitution. The Constitution is the constitutional basis for the establishment of the SAR and the enactment of the Basic Law. The Constitution and the Basic Law together form the constitutional foundation of the SAR. There should be a correct understanding by everyone in the Hong Kong community about the constitutional order of the SAR and the relationship between the Constitution and the Basic Law. 2. To commit to the governing of Hong Kong according to the law and safeguarding the Constitution and the constitutional order of the SAR established under the Basic Law, we must insist on implementing the overall jurisdiction of the central government and the high degree of autonomy of the SAR. The 20th Party Congress report reiterates that we must uphold and improve the systems for implementing one country, two systems, ensure the exercising of the overall jurisdiction of the central government, and ensure both the central government's overall jurisdiction and a high degree of autonomy in the SAR. This is an invaluable experience derived from the successful implementation of one country, two systems in recent years. This is a principle to be adhered to in implementing one country, two systems in the new era. According to the basic constitution, the socialist system is the fundamental system of the People's Republic of China. Leadership under the Communist Party of China is the most fundamental feature of socialism with Chinese characteristics. The People's Congress system is the fundamental governance system of our country. The Basic Law of the Hong Kong SAR is enacted in accordance with the Constitution. There are specific provisions on the relationship between the central authorities and Hong Kong SAR, political structure of the Hong Kong SAR, the economic, education, science, culture, and other systems of the Hong Kong SAR. These provisions form the institution and systems of the Hong Kong SAR. We can see that the overall jurisdiction is a specific manifestation of one country. Together with the high degree of autonomy of the SAR, they form the core of one country, two systems. Understanding correctly and handling properly this relationship is of utmost importance to upholding the successful implementation of one country, two systems.
First, the Hong Kong SAR's high degree of autonomy originated from the central government's overall jurisdiction. President Xi pointed out that the central government has overall jurisdiction over the Hong Kong SAR, which is the origin of the high degree of autonomy enjoyed by the SAR. The SAR's high degree of autonomy is not a pre-existing concept, but rather a stream originating from the source of the central government's overall jurisdiction. The high degree of autonomy enjoyed by the Hong Kong SAR is not a full autonomy, nor is it power sharing. In fact, it is an authorization granted by the central government. The scope of the central government's authorization marks the boundary of high degree of autonomy. As such, there is no such thing as residual power remaining with the Hong Kong SAR. The central government has comprehensive oversight over the high degree of autonomy granted to the executive, legislative, and judicial bodies of the Hong Kong SAR. In exercising such high degree of autonomy, the SAR must be subject to the central government's supervision and be accountable to it, rather than using high degree of autonomy as an excuse to reject and resist the central government in the lawful exercising of its power. Only by safeguarding and implementing the central government's overall jurisdiction can the Hong Kong SAR exercise its high degree of autonomy in a correct and effective manner. Second, to a very large extent, the central government's overall jurisdiction relies on the SAR exercising its high degree of autonomy in accordance with the law. The two concepts are inseparable. The high degree of autonomy of the Hong Kong SAR is an important expression of the overall jurisdiction exercised by the central government, while overall jurisdiction is a powerful safeguard for high degree of autonomy. The two concepts, taken together, form a complete governing system. Overall jurisdiction does not replace, negate, or undermine high degree of autonomy. The central government, in the lawful exercising of its overall jurisdiction, adheres strictly to the Constitution and the Basic Law. It is committed to upholding the Hong Kong SAR's constitutional order as enshrined by the Constitution and the Basic Law, and improving the institutions relating to their implementation. The central government highly respects and is committed to safeguarding the high degree of autonomy enjoyed by the Hong Kong SAR in accordance with the law. It confirms that the Chief Executive and the SAR government are the master of Hong Kong, who are charged with the first responsibility to govern Hong Kong. The central government fully supports the Chief Executive and the SAR government in fulfilling the duty to govern Hong Kong properly. Hence, by safeguarding and implementing the central government's overall jurisdiction, it is essentially protecting the SAR's high degree of autonomy. In the days to come, we must remain steadfast in implementing the central government's overall jurisdiction, which in turn safeguards the Hong Kong SAR's high degree of autonomy. We must identify key issues affecting the long-term governance and stability of Hong Kong and Macau, and regulate as necessary, ratify as necessary, and legislate as necessary. On one hand, we must give full play to the central government's power to strengthen oversight of the SAR's executive, legislative, and judicial bodies. On the other, we must continue to improve the governance structure of the Hong Kong SAR, enhance its governance capacity and quality comprehensively, and establish a highly efficient governance model with the Hong Kong SAR government in an executive role under the central government's leadership. Third, we must remain steadfast in governing Hong Kong in accordance with the law, safeguarding the constitutional order enshrined by the Constitution and the Basic Law, and consolidating the Hong Kong SAR's constitutional foundation, which comprises the Constitution and the Basic Law. Since the 18th Party Congress, the Central Committee, with Comrade Xi Jinping as the core, attaches great importance to the Constitution's role in the law-based governance of the country. Its implementation holds a vital position in law-based governance of the country on all fronts. A number of powerful measures were adopted to enhance the supervisory function of the Constitution in its implementation, uphold its legal status, and promote innovation of the constitutional system to keep abreast of the times. A number of new achievements were made and new experience gained. These include the innovative use of constitutional power to address significant risks and challenges in the governance of the Hong Kong SAR. In year 2020 and 2021, when Hong Kong was gripped by turmoil, Under the strong leadership of the Central Committee, the National People's Congress adopted the decision on establishing and improving legal system and enforcement mechanisms for Hong Kong SAR to safeguard national security, and the decision on improving the electoral system of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. In accordance with the authorization of the National People's Congress, the National People's Congress Standing Committee formulated the law on safeguarding national security in Hong Kong, passed the decision for the sixth-term Legislative Council to continue to discharge duties, and the decision on the qualification of members of the Legislative Council. Also, the NPCSC amended Annexes 1 and 2 of the Hong Kong Basic Law. These measures are significant as they ensure the full, accurate, and steadfast implementation of the one country, two systems principle. They are also innovative arrangements made under the Constitution and the Basic Law, which carry constitutional significance. The Hong Kong National Security Law and the improved electoral system enhanced the relevant institutions and mechanisms in relation to the implementation of the Constitution and the Basic Law. They ensured the full implementation of the requirements under the Basic Law and upheld the completeness and authority of the Hong Kong Basic Law. Since the introduction of the Hong Kong National Security Law, the SAR government has been fulfilling its constitutional responsibility to safeguard national security in accordance with the law, with extraordinary results. Hong Kong has seen a remarkable turn from chaos to stability and has ushered in a new phase of governance and prosperity, with patriots administering Hong Kong as a reliable safeguard. Still, the national security situation in the Hong Kong SAR is still challenging and complex. It remains to be seen whether the Hong Kong National Security Law can be implemented fully and accurately in a series of major court cases involving national security. The development of Hong Kong society still depends on whether the government can rise up to some major challenges, including enhancing governance capabilities, competitiveness in development, and addressing deep-rooted economic and livelihood issues. That is why we must continue to consolidate the constitutional foundation of the SAR, comprising both the Constitution and the Basic Law. We must strictly adhere to the Constitution and the Basic Law, remain steadfast in law-based governance, consolidate the constitutional foundation of the SAR under the Constitution and the Basic Law, and safeguard the SAR's constitutional order enshrined by the Constitution and the Basic Law. We must also continue to improve the relevant institutions and mechanisms in relation to the implementation of the Constitution and the Basic Law, with a view to ensuring that the one country, two systems principle remains unchanged, and that we remain unwavering in implementing the principle and staying on the right path. We must continue to enforce the Hong Kong National Security Law in a resolute and effective manner, with accurate, comprehensive understanding of the legislative intent of the Hong Kong National Security Law. The SAR government should crack down on anti-China destabilizing forces in accordance with the law. This will showcase the Hong Kong National Security Law's effectiveness and uphold its authority. According to a statement made by a spokesperson of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office of the State Council on the 28th of November, warning signs have appeared in the handling of some recent cases involving the Hong Kong National Security Law, in particular the case of Jimmy Lai. The central government fully supports the Chief Executive and the Committee for Safeguarding National Security of the Hong Kong SAR to discharge their statutory duties and exercise their statutory powers. Necessary measures should be adopted in accordance with the law to forestall and resolve lurking risks which threaten national security, and to ensure the comprehensive, accurate implementation of the Hong Kong National Security Law. The statement carries significant weight and deserves great attention from all sectors in the Hong Kong SAR. At the same time, the SAR government must actively discharge its constitutional duty to legislate for Article 23 of the Basic Law, so as to enhance the relevant legislation. By enhancing Hong Kong's political security in accordance with the Constitution and the Basic Law, and eliminating threats and risks which may endanger national security, the Hong Kong SAR will become a bulwark with sound foundation in safeguarding national security. We must stay true to the principle of patriots administering Hong Kong by ensuring that political power in the Hong Kong SAR rests safely in the hands of those who love the country and Hong Kong. They will take up the task to promote good governance, develop the economy, improve people's livelihood, address deep-rooted conflicts, and enhance Hong Kong people's sense of gain and happiness. We must continue to step up publicity of the Constitution and the Basic Law in order to guide the public to understand the Constitution, the Basic Law, and the Hong Kong National Security Law correctly. Publicity work in relation to the Constitution, the Basic Law, and the Hong Kong National Security Law is a long-term fundamental task. In addition to focused activities like the Constitution Day, efforts must also be made in a subtle and sustained manner. Our country's constitution is a great learning material through which one can learn much about the country's history and development. Hong Kong's young people should be guided to learn, respect, and uphold the constitution. I suggest young people in Hong Kong take the initiative to read the constitution and broaden your horizon by spending time in the mainland. By reading the Constitution and journeying on your own feet, you stand to gain much. That concludes my sharing from my study on the report of the 20th Party Congress. Your feedback is much welcomed. On a side note, the Chinese Association of Hong Kong and Macau Studies is an academic body on a national scale. As a think tank, we endeavor to coordinate researches on the theory and practice of one country, two systems, and to facilitate academic exchange and collaboration in the relevant field between Hong Kong, Macau, and the mainland. Our members comprise experts and scholars from the mainland as well as Hong Kong and Macau. We look forward to working together with the SAR government and the Hong Kong and Macau public. We will deepen our study and give constructive advice so as to contribute to the development of Hong Kong and Macau and to the stable and long-term practice of one country, two systems. Once again, I'm grateful to the organizers' invitation. I wish you all good health and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you once again, Dr. Deng, for his keynote, Mr. Deng for his keynote speech. The SL government, schools, and communities have held various activities in relation to the Constitution Day. Let's look at some highlights. Now is the panel discussion. We are glad to have Mrs. Rita Fan, Chairman of the Management Committee of the Endeavour Education, to moderate the session. And then we also have two guests today for the panel discussion. Ms. Maria Tam, Deputy Director of the Hong Kong Basic Law Committee of the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress, and Dr. the Honourable Hui Simon Lee, Member of the Legislative Council. They are constitution and basic law experts, so let's invite all three of them to come on stage. Please take your seat. Now, the current constitution was promulgated 40 years ago. It is the 40th anniversary when the country is now embarking on a new journey, and Hong Kong is a critical juncture of a new starting point. So how could the constitution play its role in one country, two systems, so Hong Kong could keep up with the pace of the country and move into a new era? Ms. Rita Fan, Ms. Maria Tam, and Dr. Lee will have a panel discussion on the Constitution and new journey of the new era. I'll hand over to Ms. Rita Fan. Well, it's a rare opportunity that we have constitutional experts of two generations with us, Ms. Maria Tam, my generation, and then Dr. Lee. But without further ado, I'll invite Ms. Maria Tam to speak.
Thank you, Mrs. Fan. The Honourable Judge, Deputy Commissioner, Secretaries, and also MPs, CPPCC representatives, and fellow citizens. Allow me to elaborate on the importance of the Constitution. According to Mr. Deng, the Constitution affirms in legal form the achievements of the struggles of the Chinese people of all ethnic groups. Now, in the Article 31 of the Constitution mentions that the NPC can legislate for the specific systems of special administrative regions as necessary. Now, there are only 46 words, but it lays out the overall strategy and the determination of the drive to unify the country. Special administrative regions, Hong Kong and Macau, can implement the one country, two systems principle and achieve a high degree of autonomy. Now, Mr. Deng said we have to remain steadfast in implementing one country, two systems, as well as implementing the overall jurisdiction of the central people's government. And Hong Kong must be administered by patriots, and there should be a high level of integration between the overall jurisdiction and a high degree of autonomy. We have to remain steadfast in accurately implementing the national security law. The improved electoral system ensures that the political power rests safely in the hands of patriots, so that there can be a long-term governance as well as long-term success for the one country, two systems. Now, we are very familiar with Article 31 of the Constitution, as well as the power of interpretation enjoyed by the NPCSC. Now, however, may I refer you to the preambles of the Constitution in 1982. Now, it sets out that the Chinese people of all ethnic groups will continue under the leadership of the Communist Party of China and the guidance of 5 generations of leaders, including President Xi Jinping's thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era, to uphold the people's democratic dictatorship, stay on the socialist road, carry out reform and opening up, steadily improve the socialist institutions, develop the socialist market economy and socialist democracy, improve a socialist rule of law, apply the new development philosophy, and work hard in the spirit of self-reliance to modernize step by step the country's industry, agriculture, national defense, and science and technology, and promote coordinated material, political, cultural, ethical, social, and ecological advancements in order to build China into a great modern socialist country that is prosperous, strong, democratic, culturally advanced, harmonious, and beautiful, and realize the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. The Constitution embodies the history of our country, from independence to standing up to growing prosperous. Now, allow me to consolidate the report and Mr. Presidency's speech with 3 words. That is strive, modernization, and rejuvenation. Over the past 10 years, under President Xi's leadership, we have joined the rank of innovative countries. Of course, this is the fruits shared by all Chinese people. Now, China is the second largest economy in the world. It ranks first in terms of foreign exchange reserve as well as trade volume and industrial production volume. Now we have entered an era of technological advancements, including aerospace technology, quantum communication, quantum mathematics, AI, and so on. Now, innovative technology has become the engine for our country's rapid economic growth over the past 10 years, and we have entered an age of high-quality development. According to the 20th report of the National Congress, we have to build China into a great modern socialist and also promote the high-quality development of the innovative technological industry. Now there are two steps. We will basically realize socialist modernization from 2020 through to 2025, and we will build China into a great modern socialist country that is prosperous, strong, democratic, culturally advanced, harmonious, and beautiful from 2035 through the middle of this century. This is the new journey of the new era. So the first part is to build our country into a socialist and modernization. Now, the Chinese modernization, the modernization of China, is a modernization which is socialist modernization pursued in the leadership of under the leadership of the Communist Party of China. It contains elements that are common to the modernization processes of countries, but it is more characterized by features that are uniquely Chinese context. It is a modernization of common prosperity for all, and it is the modernization of material and cultural ethical advancements. It is also peaceful modernization. The 20th National Congress sets the vision of peaceful development and also the establishment of a human community with a shared future. Now, since the reunification of Hong Kong with the motherland, we have never been absent in the development of the country. So in Hong Kong, we have to draw reference to the spirits. I would like to make 4 points. First of all, we should adhere to the people-centric philosophy and to focus on improving people's livelihood in terms of education, medic and healthcare, and so on. According to Mr. John Lee's policy address, measures have been announced on how we would move toward the goal. Now, the success of the Hong Kong SAR, the responsibility mainly lies with the Hong Kong SAR government. However, everyone is a stakeholder. We should stay united and strive together. Now, second, common prosperity is the prosperity for all people and also prosperity of material as well as cultural ethical aspects. Now, we have to make the cake bigger, and also we have to protect the people's livelihood. I think Mr. John Lee's policy address has paid equal attention to economic development as well as improving livelihood of people. Now, on the modernization of material and cultural ethical advancements, under the 14th Five-Year Plan, Hong Kong has been given a mission to promote the Chinese culture to the world and strengthen the world's understanding of our country's civilization. Now, we have to align with the cultural and artistic sectors in the mainland to create innovative growth points. To the world, we have to tell the good China story and the Chinese value that is peaceful development and a human community with a shared future in a language that people in the world can understand. That is to showcase the soft power of the country. Fourth, it is a modernization of harmony between humanity and nature. Now, Hong Kong has to focus on building an ecological civilization and protect the environment so as to meet the aspiration for a green environment of the people, as well as engaging in safe, sustainable, and green development. Now, the last point. Hong Kong is the only city in China that is truly connected with the world while enjoying the backing of the country. Now, under the Basic Law, we have some 260 international conventions which apply to Hong Kong. And also we are a member of the APEC and other international organizations. We have to become an engine to drive the country's growth and also complement the strength of other mainland countries. Now, all mainland cities enjoy the backing of the country. However, we have the unique strength of being connected with the world. Now, in the new era and under the new era of modernization, we have to turn our strength into a mission, and we have to strive to complete the mission. Now, by connecting with the world, we want to create growth for Hong Kong and the country. However, there are challenges. We have to have a very clear position. That is, we should embrace the teachings and spirits of the Chinese culture while learning the strength of the West, so that we have the confidence to counter foreign interference. Now, a short conclusion. The 10 years under the leadership of President Xi has led the country to rise to new heights and also allowed Hong Kong to continue to prosper under the one country, two systems. A modernization of the country will combine the targets of prosperity as well as unification. Since the 18th National Congress, the report states clearly that an important step to achieve modernization is to implement one country, two systems faithfully. Now we are enjoying the fruits of the people's strive in the mainland. We also have a responsibility to govern Hong Kong properly and to transform our unique position into fruits. According to President Xi, if Hong Kong follows the country on the road of a new era, it is like President Xi said, I would like to borrow a pair of wings from the crane and soar into the sky. Thank you.
Thank you. Distinguished guests, friends, if you have never met a person who could handle the 15th Party Congress report, the 20th Party Congress report, and the July 1st speech of President Xi, and then that you could share all that information with you in 10 minutes. You've never seen it, while you've seen it today. Thanks, Ms. Maria Tam. And Dr. Simon Lee is going to show us a PowerPoint presentation. Over to you, Dr. Simon Lee. Good afternoon, Mr. Justice Chang, the various Commissioner, Deputy Director, distinguished guests, and friends watching on TV or online. Now, I would like to share with you the perspective of one country, two systems. The time with the theme of today, Constitution and New Journey of New Era. Now, Ms. Maria Tam has already given you the actual developments, and now I would like to share with you some theories to show you how the different documents are related. That is the 20th Party Congress, the socialist thought, and so on. Now, the Constitution actually gives you the direction. It's like an examination paper. As for the 20th Party Congress report, is actually the answer sheet. It tells you what they plan to do and how they're going to do it. And all the thoughts behind that derive from socialist thoughts. So let's first look at the question paper. Now, in the preamble of the Constitution, paragraph 7, there have been amendments, and then it says here what is the fundamental duty of the country. That is to go along this socialist system and go for modern development. So that's a very core of the duty of the country and the ruling party. To achieve that, in the 2018 amendment, the green part shows you what changes we made. That is to include scientific outlook on development and Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristic for a new era. So this is to point you to the direction of development, and more importantly, the specific goal has been put forward. That is to achieve the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. So this is stated in the Constitution. So the duties have been spelled out, the mission has been spelled out. So what are the targets? Now the question paper has been issued. So now next we look at the answer sheet. And then in the 20th National Congress report, it states clearly the missions of the Communist Party in response to the question raised in the Constitution. It says here the central task of the Communist Party of China is to lead the Chinese people of all ethnic groups in concerted effort to realize the second centenary goal on building China into a great modern socialist country in all respects. So it's in response to what is said in the Constitution, that is we have to complete the modernization of the socialist country of China. Now, that means there is modernization with Chinese characteristic in promoting the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. Now, you've seen these words before. Those are the exact same words in the Constitution, but here in the Party Congress report, it tells us how they're going to achieve that, and that means the modernization of Chinese characteristics. That means is the leadership status of the CPC, the scale of the population, co-prosperity, and also material and spiritual civil advancements and so on. So how do we do it? There are two steps. That is, by 2035, we have to achieve realized socialist modernization. So that's like the midterm exam. So when is the final exam? That is on the 100th anniversary of the founding of the country. That is the middle of this century. We have to complete the task of building China into a great modern socialist country. So that's in the report. So it tells us what we need to do to achieve the target. So we're talking about new journey and new era. So therefore we need new targets, we need new tasks and new content. Now in the 20th National Congress Party report, there are some new points mentioned, so I have highlighted them. The first is about the central task. There are two central tasks, around what I've just said. That is, we want to build China into a strong socialist modern country, and then it's also modernization of Chinese characteristics. Also, we have to insist on market economy. That is, we're not going to waver from that target. And also, we have to take forward Belt and Road Initiative and so on. So these are the measures we will insist on as we work with places outside the country. And then in Hong Kong, there is mention of insisting on one country systems, and also new points such as matrix administration Hong Kong, also better integration into the national development of the country, and also Hong Kong must also make its contribution in the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. So that's why in the first chapter of the July 1st speech, President Xi said that Hong Kong was never absent. That is, from the revolution to the latest development of the country, Hong Kong has always played an important role. So apart from those points, there are several points mentioned for the first time. That is, the capitalist system and the way of life will not change on a continuous basis, and then we have to leverage on our advantages, and then we need to strengthen the several hubs of Hong Kong and Macau, and also there should be stronger and closer cooperation between Hong Kong, Macau, and other countries. So we know what the target is, we know how to do it. And then the third point is in the new thoughts of Mr. Xi Jinping in a new era. So this is actually the framework, and now that covers rich content. But I think the core aspect are the 8 points mentioned in the 19th Party Congress report. That is, our duty is to realize socialist modernization and great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. And also, there are imbalances in development and various conflicts. So in the first chapter of the 20th report, there's response to, and then there's also a mention of the strategic development, so on, and there are 4 points of confidence in the path of theory, system, and culture of socialist Chinese characteristics. And then we have to be able to govern the country independently. And then in the chapter 7 of the 20th report, there's special mention of a stronger military capacity. And then also in chapter 14, promoting world peace and development, building a human community with a shared future, and final chapter, the leadership of the CPC. So we know what the question paper is. We know the answer sheet in the 20th Congress report. We also know the theories backing all these developments. Let's link them all up now. For imbalanced development in the 19th Congress report, there's already mention of that. That is, we need to have city clusters as the point for promoting co-prosperity, say in the case of Greater Bay Area. And then, so it's actually a sequel of what they did at the start of opening up and reform. That is, we will first allow some people to become rich first, and then in chapter 8 of the 20th Congress report says that we need to improve our electoral systems and so on. And also there must be a law-based governance. We have to take that up further. And by law-based governance, we're not just talking about the judicial and legal systems on the mainland, it's also about the common law system. Now, in the important speech of President Xi Jinping, he mentioned twice common law. So we have to appreciate the status of common law. In Hong Kong, we have the common law jurisdiction. Common law belongs to Hong Kong and the country. It is also an important component of the legal system of the country as a whole. And also, we need to promote closer relationship between Hong Kong and other countries. And then confidence means that we have modernization of Chinese characteristics, and that's why everyone should respect and uphold the Constitution and so on. Also, in particular, we must target criminal activities as mentioned in the Hong Kong national security law. And then we must also persist in one country, two systems. So that has to do with Article 5 of the Basic Law, because there is mention of the capitalist system and way of life in Hong Kong remaining unchanged for 50 years. But here we're talking about national development as a whole. It's more than just about great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. It's about the country becoming confident. So why we talk about 50 years from 1997 to 2047. If you look at the 2 centenaries, the first centenary starts from will end on 2049. So 2047 and 2049, are they mere coincidence? Well, it's not actually. Now, when one country, two systems was first proposed, the country has already included Hong Kong in the blueprint of the great rejuvenation of Chinese nation. So that's how it considered one country, two systems. That's why from the first day when the one country, two systems was proposed, it's a twin to opening up and deepening and opening up and reform. So it's an important agent driving the development of opening up and reform. Without opening up and reform, there wouldn't be Shenzhen we see today. And if there's only one country, two systems, without opening up and reform, we won't see the Hong Kong we have today. So when we consider Chapter 1 of the 20th Party Congress report, there's mention of full deepening of opening up and reform. So how do we accurately implement one country, two systems? Together, we have to consider this development perspective for one country, two systems, we have to consider some historic transformation, and we need to rearrange those institutions and so on. So with deepening of opening up and reform, we also have to bear in mind one country, two system perspective. Together, then we could deliver on this great rejuvenation of Chinese nation, and we are able to give a perfect answer to the question. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends, don't you think Dr. Simon Lee speaks very fast? He has so much to offer, but we can only offer him 10 minutes. I see many of you have taken out your phone to capture the PowerPoint. So if you look it all up on Baidu, you will learn a lot. So I have received some questions from some of you. I think we only have time to answer one or two of them. Now, this question is for Maria. Now, we have to observe the Constitution since we are Chinese nationals. Now, Basic Law is a national law which applies to Hong Kong. We also have to observe it. However, Basic Law is different from Constitution, as explained by Mr. Deng Zhonghua. Now, can you elaborate on the laws we should observe when we cross the border to the mainland? Thank you. Constitution is applicable to the entire of the nation. However, Constitution must be implemented through a local legislation, that is the Basic Law. So I think that question would be best answered by Mr. Andrew Cheung. Now, Constitution is promulgated by the highest legislative body in the country. Now, Article 31, it says that the NPCSC must legislate for the special administrative regions and systems. Now, on the 4th of April 1990, the Basic Law, a decision was made in relation to the Basic Law, that the Basic Law is based on the Constitution with consideration to Hong Kong's specific situation, and which is in accordance with the Constitution. Now, you can think Article 31 as the embryo which gives birth to the Basic Law. Thank you for your explanation. Now, another question is from my friend. This is for Dr. Simon Lee. What does it mean by whole process of people's democracy? Now, whole process people's democracy has two salient characteristics. Now, let me give you an example. In the Western countries, people would come out to vote on a certain day. So that is individualism. That is an individualistic democracy. Now, for whole process of people's democracy, it is a democracy of legal entities. So this is the society would be deemed as an organic body. Everyone would be playing his part as an element of the body. Now, for example, the election of the election committee, the voters would come out to vote. However, decisions have been made prior to the voting date through discussion among the members of the committees. So that is the first characteristic of a whole people process democracy. Second, it is a consultative democracy. Now, the voting itself is an expression of democracy, and also during the process of policy formulation, there would be a lot of consultation. In the mainland, during the consultative process, a lot of discussion is required involving academics. And without that, the decision-making process would not be complete. And then there would be supervision under the democratic system. So we are not just looking at the date of the polling date. It is a sustained process of integration between the policy and interest. there are always continuous discussion and consultation. So that is how our country's democratic system and voting system different from the Western countries. So this is a modernization and a democracy with Chinese characteristics, which fits the context of the country with 56 ethnic groups. It may not be applicable in the Western context. However, the Western democratic system would not be applicable in our country as well. So during the process of modernization, during the on the path of building a human community with a shared future, Hong Kong must be involved. We have to promote one country, two systems, to tell the world that this is a very unique Chinese invention. So time's up. I thank all for attending. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to you. I would like to thank the three guests again for their interesting sharing. Thank you. Well, okay, so we see such interesting sharing by the guests. You could go back to the relevant website of the Constitution and Mainland Affairs Bureau, and you'll be able to listen again to the session. Thank you so much. The Constitution is the fundamental law of the country. It is the general statute for governing the country. The Constitution is also the root and origin of the basic law, and the one country is the root deep, and then from the foliage flourishes. One country is the origin with a strong trunk, then the branches are strong. So the Constitution provides a solid legal basis and constitutional framework to the implementation of one country, two systems in Hong Kong. It is a key to and cornerstone for the long-term prosperity and stability of Hong Kong. The prosperity of two systems is rooted in a firm adherence to the principle of one country. Every citizen in Hong Kong must respect the Constitution. They have the obligation to acquire positive, correct, and deep understanding of the Constitution and uphold the Constitution. Under the protection and guidance of the Constitution, Hong Kong will embark on a new journey and a new era and start a new chapter. So that leads us to the conclusion of the seminar. Thank you so much. You could visit the website of the Constitution and Mainland Affairs Bureaus, www.cmab.gov.hk, to see to revisit this seminar. So first, I'll invite the VIP guests to leave first. Thank you so much. And I would like to thank you all for coming to this seminar. I also like to thank the TV and online audience. I'll see you again next year. Goodbye.